Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
We will now reconvene to open session, regular meeting, and have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Oliver Taylor. Of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Announcements of action taken in closed session. On the matter of expulsions, EH 24-25-40 through 41, the unanimous decision on expulsions from the board, and stipulated expulsions, EH 24-25-42 to 43, a unanimous decision passed on that. And suspended expulsion contracts, EH 24-25-44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49 passed unanimously. And also the expunged expulsion records, EH 23-24-21 and EH 23-24-12 passed unanimously. Other items is 2.2. Item number 2.2 was a unanimous vote of 6-0 to approve a compromise agreement of in office of administrative hearings case number 202-502-0439 to resolve claims raised against district in exchange for reimbursement of educationally related expenses incurred during the 24 and 2025 school year in an amount not to exceed $5,000, and that passed with a unanimous decision. Also in closed session was resolution number 2024-25/24, non-reelection of probationary certificated employees. In closed session, the governing board took an action vote of 6-0, unanimous vote to release a certificated employee identified by employee number 11003 effective at the end of the 2024-25 school year. Also to report out in closed session, item 2.6, public employee appointment and employment, evaluation and performance / discipline / dismissal / release, government code section 54957. And this is the resolution number 2024-25/23, demotion, reassignment of certificated administrators. In closed session, the governing board took action of a unanimous vote to issue a possible notice of release and or reassignment of certificated administrators pursuant to Education Code Section 44951, effective at the end of the 2024-2025 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notice. Next, we have comments from the board members. Mr. Fuhrer. Mr. Taylor. Dr. Yang. Mr. Galicia. Mr. Crawford. And also from Student Representative Nerlina N. Sing May. Nothing? Okay. And now we have recognitions, which are none tonight. Next, comments from school site representatives, Olivehurst High School.
Okay, good evening, everyone. First, I want to start off. Our leadership trip is preparing for our BMA Awards, which will take place this Friday. We're recognizing over 500 Blazers with academic awards and also 20 fun awards. We always wish the best for our Blazers and their academic success, along with many students receiving perfect attendance. We wrapped up our 8th grade tours in February, which was a huge success with a turnout of over 400 8th graders. We had Yuba Gardens and Arboga join us. We hope to see you all as future Blazers. Our Lyndhurst Interactive Club has had a very busy year, having helped with fall festivals at Edgewater, Arboga, Olivehurst, and Johnson Park schools. Our community service has continued at both Johnson Park and Edgewater for their events, such as a winter festival and spaghetti dinner. With an upcoming plan to assist at Johnson Park's Literacy Night event, Interact Club did bell ringing for the Salvation Army and Rotary Club for the holiday season. We've had many students involved with monthly food bank giveaways. They've also assisted the Linda Fire Department with conducting the 5K walk or run at the Bacchae Festival. They participated in the Rotary Speech Contest against Wheatland and finished first with Ileana Walters and second with Evelyn Kupser. Ileana got to move on to the Regional Speech Contest against schools from Northern California, and she finished 3rd place. Our sophomore class of 2027 just hosted the Sadie Hawkins dance, which was a tremendous success, with the theme being a sweetheart ball, which gave students a chance to decorate the gym and fancy it up while having a fun and safe night on a Friday night. Our FFA president, Elizabeth Silva, was selected to serve on the California FFA State Nominating Committee. This role was only given to 12 students in the entire state, and Elizabeth is the first from Lyndhurst to ever receive this honor. As part of this team, Elizabeth is charged with interviewing and slating candidates who have applied to serve the state's 100,000 members as state FFA officer. Elizabeth was also selected to attend the prestigious California FFA Sacramento Leadership Experience. Only 75 students statewide are selected to attend, with Elizabeth got the opportunity to sit in the state capitol building in Sacramento, learning all about the role of government, agricultural policy, and advocacy. Erica Rivera Vargas was recently announced as a Sierra Buttes FFA section champion in the Spanish Creed contest, another first for Lyndhurst. Erica will be competing in the Superior Region FFA contest in a couple of weeks. 8 Lyndhurst FFA members received the state's highest degree. A degree is the single highest year for the number of state FFA degrees for Lyndhurst, bringing our 50-year count from 23 to 31 in a single year. Congratulations to Kaylee Killingsworth, Julia Sanchez, Alana Whitlock, Elizabeth Silva, Erica Rivera Vargas, Brooklyn Clark, Lily Curtis, and Julissa Kamalinga. Our fair animals have arrived, with Lyndhurst FFA having 15 hog exhibitors, 8 lambs, 2 replacement heifers, 1 goat, and 1 steer exhibitor. Lyndhurst FFA has just published our first podcast in February with a partnership with the 93Q radio station and the Yuba River Endowment. Check out our 1-hour podcast on Facebook or Instagram. And lastly, our FFA members recently attended the UC Davis FFA Field Day and Gridley FFA Field Day. Members competed in horse judging, veterinary science, job interview, and Spanish Creed. Erica Rivera Vargas took first place in Spanish Creed at Gridley FFA contest. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Marysville Charter Academy of the Arts. North and South Lyndhurst.
Good evening, Interim Superintendent, board members, and cabinet. My name is Abdul Sanchez Gonzalez, and I am representing South and North Lyndhurst High School. I would like to start with a recap of the 3rd quarter. This school year has been packed with activities and opportunities for our students. Currently, we have students that are either returning or preparing to attend Shady Creek as counselors. Year after year, this was a much sought out after experience. Our students have been exposed to many career options. They visited Universal Technical Institute in Sacramento on Thursday, February 20th. We also took students to the Steps to College event at Cal Expo on February 8th. This was the largest bilingual and binational university fair in Northern California. Currently, we are preparing to attend the Tri-County Career Fair on March 27th. Lastly, South Lyndhurst Olivehurst location is planning on resuming the mentorship program in the fourth quarter with Johnson Park Elementary's bilingual speakers. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Abdul. Now moving on for opportunity employer organizations to address the board. Marysville High School.
Good evening. My name is Gabriela DeVargas, and I'm the 2024-2025 Senior Class President for Marysville High School. I would like to start off with recapping the beginning of our spring semester. We had a great homecoming dance with lots of new ideas and engaging activities like balloon animals and bracelet making, along with the traditional homecoming dance. More recently, FFA had the opportunity to be a part of the Blue Collar Tour, where over 250 students from many different schools attended for demos and trade school info. Last but not least, our Wellness Center has had over 2,053 students from the beginning of the school year that have checked in for therapy, support, and resources. It provides a safe and positive environment for our students. One of the newest additions in our Wellness Center is Thrifting Thursday. It brings people together and lets students meet their needs without feeling uncomfortable. We're excited for the rest of our spring semester. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to next month's meeting.
Thank you. Now an opportunity to hear from employee organizations, Marysville Unified Teachers Association.
Good evening. At least this time I didn't clear out a whole room, so this is kind of nice. Angela Stiegel, I'm the president for the Marysville Unified Teachers Association. And this evening, the main focus of the comments from the teachers union is in regards to our elementary counselors. And I know I spoke briefly of this at our last meeting, but it really is important, critically important for the board to understand that we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we save these positions. As it stands right now, we're looking at 5 out of 11 elementary school counselor positions being eliminated for next year. Already within the mid-year report from the LCAP, we're already seeing that there's been an increase in ELA and math scores with having elementary counselors. We're already seeing that chronic absenteeism has decreased by over 5%. We already know that these people are to be, well, within their job description, well, I shouldn't say their job description, within the description within LCAP, they're the case managers for our homeless and our foster students, our students who already are most at risk for not having connections at school and already most at risk for chronic absenteeism. And so in losing these positions, we are going to be really making cuts very, very close to students. And we had originally said we were going to make every commitment, every effort to make sure that cuts were as far away from students as possible. But within that, they are delineated in the LCAP. We also have Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant funds that could be used for them. We also have community schools funds, which I will say that I want to already thank Jordan Reeves and Jennifer Pasalia. We're going to be talking about that and trying to see if we can find ways to make this happen for next year. But we need to make sure that we are overturning every rock, every pebble at this point in time. Our students desperately need these individuals on our sites. Already, if you're looking at the fact that we have 11, that tells you that not every single elementary school site actually has their own counselor. We have sites that are sharing already. If we're talking about sharing some more, how far do we want to try to stretch these people to the point where they really are not of a service to our students? That's not what we need either. And we've tried it with other positions. We've tried it with music, and that really was not beneficial to students in music education, was splitting people, a music teacher over 2 or 3 school sites. We have to make sure that we are learning our lessons as we go through. When we err, when we make mistakes or missteps, We need to make sure that we're learning from them. And I would like to think that with our music teachers, and even way back in the day with nurses, and even with positions in other units like our school psychologists, having people, and even administrators, split over various campuses, there are some ways in which that can work, and there are a lot of ways in which it can't. And there are a lot of ways in which then the district is utilizing funds to actually pay people to be on the road, which is not where they're actually beneficial to our students nor to our communities and our families. And so we have to find a way to make this happen for our students, especially our students who are most at risk and most at need. Because on top of that, I will tell you, that helps me and my unit members. It helps every student in classes being able to have the opportunity to learn. It helps my people be able to do their jobs even better than they're already doing them. It helps our site administrators. And so there really is the trickle-down effect, so to say. And so I would urge the school board and I would urge the school district to please make sure that we find a way to save these positions. Because I do know that at this point in time, there's also some conversation about the idea that between people resigning and people retiring, and we may only have one person who actually loses their job, but still the rifts would be there. And so we still would not be bringing people back into those positions. And so as much as I appreciate the thought that, hey, you wouldn't actually be having 5 of your unit members lose their jobs, you'd only have 1. Well, I will tell you, if I was only that one, that would still be a big deal to me. But also, if we're still losing the positions, that we can't have that. We have to find ways to get around this. Additionally, I will say that I do have some other questions and such, but I put in a comment card for those because I didn't want Mr. Crawford to think that I wasn't going to have anything else to say this evening. So I didn't want him to be disappointed. But I will save the rest of those for those agenda items. But I also, earlier today, I also want to make sure to put my thank yous out there as well. There was another agenda item, which was an issue for the union. And I was able to speak with Jennifer Pasalia and Jordan Reeves, who brought Rusty Gordon and Amy Eggleston in from the SPED department, and we got a situation relatively resolved, and I believe we have an understanding to where we're not going to be having any more of those issues. We think we've got kind of an idea and a process and steps to things, so I wanted to thank the 4 of them as well for kind of dropping everything in the middle of their day and getting that together for us. So I think we're making some positive headway in that direction. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. Operating Engineers Local Union 3. California School Employees Association 326 and 648. Association of Management and Confidential Employees. Supervisory Unit. Moving on to public comments, Angela, so a question, is the 11.1 that you want to save that for that section and not public comments, and then also 22.1? Okay, thank you. So no cards. Do we have any closed session public comments? None? Okay. Moving on to superintendent updates. Acting Superintendent, Mr. Jordan Reeves.
Excuse me. All right. We have a couple things to share. First of all, at the Yuba County Spelling Bee, at the elementary division, we took first and second place. Fernando Garcia Ledesma is a repeat winner. He won last year as a 5th grader at Cedar Lane and this year as a 6th grader. And then second place, the runner-up was Nicholas Villanueva from Kynoch. So they will be competing, or at least Fernando will. Nicholas is an alternate down in April in Manteca. So good luck to them for that. That was exciting. Mr. Greger did a great job leading the spelling bee. We thank him for that. More good news. So the Beale Air Force Base Air Show on Saturday, June 7th and June 8th. If I'm not mistaken, the Thunderbirds are going to be there. We've been working with the Chief Community Engagement person, as a title, Emily Rory, and they needed 20 additional buses, a total of 40 buses to provide transportation for the event, staging area and to the actual base. So we were able to work with them. Greg Taylor, our Director of Transportation, to provide the needed 20 buses, giving them a total of 40. So half of the fleet is going to come from Marysville. Our bus drivers will be compensated for their efforts through reimbursement from the Air Force. So very exciting. It's going to be a great event. I think it's a 3-day event because I know it's also going on Friday as well. So the fact that Marysville can be part of that is exciting. Able, since our last board meeting, to get out to a number of sites, made it all the way up to Yuba-Sutter, Dobbins, which I'd been to previously. Teachers are doing great things, staff are doing great things, very appreciative of them welcoming into their classroom and showing all the great things that are going on in there. We talked about the Chico State Job Fair. Ashley attended that on Friday, last Friday. A lot of positive things came out from that. Again, that's one of the biggest job fairs, certainly in Northern California, one of the best. Chico State has a phenomenal teacher credentialing program. They have another one slated for March 26th. I know Ashley's going to return back to that. So, excuse me, their hiring practice, or process, I should say, essentially has already begun for the district. And lastly, it was stated by the Marysville ASB president, the Blue Collar Tour was here. I was over at Marysville High School. My understanding is Jake Wheeler was able to get them to that. So I went over there with a couple of cabinet members and was able to see that. And that was a really great opportunity for a lot of kids at Marysville High School to experience. So shout out to Jake for getting that going. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Moving on to 11.1, Yuba County Office of Ed, Superintendent Search Update. Mr. Rob Greger, Superintendent of Yuba County Office of Education, will be presenting. Mr. Greger, you have the floor.
Thank you, board members. It's my pleasure to be here. My name's Rob Greger, Superintendent of Yuba County Office of Education. First of all, it was wonderful to hear from your students. I always enjoy hearing that. And Olivehurst High School, my gosh, they're rocking it in their FFA class. I guess is that still Mr. Bisbee? Is he over there? Mr. Chase Bisbee, shout out to you. I still remember him as a first grader, believe it or not, in Miss Owens' class. So, wow, that is awesome. I mean, I was really blown away by those great things and hearing all the great stuff. As Mr. Reeves said, you have a 2-time winner for the county. Fernando was amazing. They went 23 rounds, the 2 boys. And it got to the point where we had to try to get words that were almost impossible for me to even pronounce, much less spell. And we went to the junior high level of words, and they were still rocking it. That was amazing, watching those young men do that. And I will be at I will be there. It's down at Manteca at the Great Wolf Lodge on April 25th, if you do get a chance to get down there for the state county spelling bee. So for those representation, I'm really looking forward to seeing our young man. And I know a lot of you, I know I'm wasting a little time because there's not a lot to update on here, but our young man came in with like 1 minute to spare, hat on with his Chicago White Sox hat, looked like he was just Joe Cool, and knocked it out of the park. So congratulations to Cedar Lane. Other than that, we are finished with everything that we're doing with the superintendent search. We had our February 18th Marysville High Schools meeting. We had a February 19th Lyndhurst High School meeting. February the 20th, we had a Yuba County Career Preparatory Charter School meeting there for community members. And then on March 4th, we ended with the Foothills Intermediate School. You have now 10 days left until the superintendent search is over. After those 10 days, our next time that I will meet with you will be in closed session, and you will get to go over the names of those that are qualified and have turned in all of their information and decide how many people you want that first group to interview. And we will go through that in your closed session. You will have a binder with all of their information in it, from their resume to their letters of recommendation to everything that they have. And again, it will only be those who actually are qualified and that have put in all the papers and done that correctly. But you will have that opportunity to decide who's going to be interviewed at that closed session. So that's going to be coming up. I have my EA, Haley Pomeroy, will be working with Anna to make sure that happens and that we're on your next agenda for that. So other than that, questions for me or our team?
Do we have any questions from the board?
None? All right, well, I want to say again, you guys have one of the best districts to work with. I know that you're going to be able to offer great opportunities for whomever is their next superintendent with all the great things that are happening in this district. And it was just a pleasure to sit here and listen to all the great things that are happening in our high schools. And I can't wait to hear all the great things for whoever the new person is when we get to that point. So again, from us to you, know that we are taking this very seriously, and we cannot wait to get to the interview sessions part of it. So 10 days and counting until it closed. So 5 o'clock, those that are listening, March 21st, don't be late.
Thank you, Mr. Greger. We have some public comment from Ms. Angela Stiegel. Ms. Stiegel, you have the floor.
Why, thanks. So I have a question for Mr. Greger before he leaves. Or if he leaves, I'll just call him and ask him. I'm just kidding. So, kind sir, I know it says 10 days until the search is over. Yes, go ahead. So it was going to happen one way or another. So I'm curious. That's all right. It happens. Generally, when I come up here, people want to run away, and that's just fine. It's a small town. I have my ways. But I'm curious about the PR efforts in regards to, like, how far did we cast our net to try to find folks? And I'm also curious if we have any idea if we're going to do any sort of like last minute push to recast that net or to try to remind people that we are still looking. Because I do know that I have heard from a couple of kind of outlying communities that weren't even aware that we were looking for a superintendent. And it could just be that that person isn't real in tune with that kind of deal because they don't want the job. So I'm just curious if you might be able to answer those two questions for me, and then I think I may have a third depending on what those answers are.
So the first question was how far the cast of net, or,
Yep.
And then the second was, are we going to redo it again, correct? Yep. Okay, so the net was cast to all 58 counties in the state of California. We sent it out to all superintendents in the entire state. And so what we did is for all county superintendents, we sent it out to that group and sent it out to their HR departments. So everywhere from this entire state, it was cast out. Then we also used our AXA organization, and we put it in on their webpage and on their I think there was 2 weeks total that it was ran in their Ed Week magazine, or their release, and then it is on the Ed Join for that. So it was cast to the state of California. We did not go outside of that. And then we're trying to keep it local as far as our main information. When I say local, within the 3 to 4 counties within our area that we keep continuing to push really hard. And we have people have reached out in multiple counties that have actually applied for the position.
So I believe my last question, I think.
The other part was, yeah, you're going to ask if we were going to do it again outward to, again. I don't know that answer, if we're going to continue to do one more time and send a mass cast.
So then as far as the interview panels, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I've been around for more than one of those now as we've gone through. At one point in time when we did a superintendent search, there were 2 interview panels at the end of it. One that included union leaders, DO leadership, and then the other panel was the board. And then we have also done it where it was just the board that had the 1 interview panel. So do we know if we're going to do 1 interview panel or 2 interview panels? 2? Got it.
Last part on that, 2 interview panels, but the first interview panel will be the one with multiple groups. The second one will be with the finalist, and that will be with just the board.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to number 12, superintendent. 12.1, approval of the February 11th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Mr. Reeves. Sorry.
Turn it on. Looking for a motion to approve the board minutes from our last board meeting on February 25th.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Taylor and a second from Mr. Crawford. All right. All approve? Aye. Motion passes. (12.2), approval of consent agenda items. Items 14.1 through 17.4. Is there any item that the board would like to pull for further clarification at this time? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mr. Frank Crawford on a motion to approve. And a second? Oh, Mr. Fuhrer. Okay. I have a second from Mr. Fuhrer. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no new business on 18 of administrative services, 19 none, and 20 none at this time. Number 21, new business personnel. This is an action item. 21.1, and that's to approve a tentative agreement between Marysville Joint Unified School District and Operating Engineers Local Number 3. Ashley Vetty.
Just as you said, the district came to an agreement with Operating Engineers Local Number 3, and the purpose of this agenda item is to request the governing board approve the tentative agreement. And these articles have been the subject of negotiations for the 23-24 and 24-25 fiscal years.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the tentative agreement between MJUSD and Operating Engineers Local 3? Mr. Yang motions. And do I have a second? Mr. Taylor seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Moving on to 21.2, the approval of the 2023-24 initial proposal from CSEA Chapter Number 648 to Marysville Joint Unified School District, public disclosure in action. Ms. Vetty?
That's exactly it. So we're looking for a motion on the public disclosure and action for our initial sunshine with CSEA 648.
Do I have any questions from the board? I have a motion to approve for Mr. Crawford, okay? And do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Galicia. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. To 1.3, approve the 2023-24 initial bargaining proposal from MJUSD to CSEA number 648, public disclosure and action. Again, Ms. Vetty.
Just to clarify too, this is for California School Employees Association, Chapter 648, and so this is our classified, one of our classified unions, and this is the initial sunshine proposal from the district to CSEA. So the last was CSEA to the district. This is the district to CSEA, and this is a public disclosure and action item, so we're looking for an approval from the board.
Any questions from board members? Then can I get a motion to approve? Mr. Fuhrer motions. And do I have a second? Mr. Crawford seconds that. And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. So moving on to number 22, new business, business services. 22.1, approve the 2024-25 second interim financial report. Jennifer Cesalia.
Thank you. Good evening, President Criddle, fellow trustees, Superintendent Reeves, Cabinet, and our Marysville Joint Unified Community. I'm Jen Pasalia, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services, and I'm here this evening to present the second interim budget update for the 24-25 school year. This evening, we'll go over the second interim financials, which run from July 1st through January 31st of 2025. We'll also look at the projected budget through June 30th. And then also the district is projected to meet all of its financial obligations for the current year and the 2 subsequent years. So we're looking for a positive certification. We'll go through the budget cycle. We'll look at changes since first interim. We'll look at our revenue and expenditures update, our fund balance, multi-year projections, and then what we have to look forward to. So this is a familiar cycle. We do this every presentation for the budget. It just shows that this is a living document. We started in July with the adopted budget. We came back in December with the first interim report. In January, we heard what the governor is proposing for the 25-26. We'll get into that a little later in the presentation. Right now, we're at the second interim financial, and we're also starting to work on our preliminary LCAP and budget to bring forward to you in June for final approval. And in May, we will hear from the governor and see if there are any changes from his January proposal. So since first interim, up there you'll see our unrestricted general fund and our restricted columns. We had a total change of over 2.2 million in revenue. Most of that is found in part of that is found in our LCFF. At second interim, we looked at our P1 attendance records. We recalculated with our LCFF projections and saw a slight change of about $500,000. Our other local and our unrestricted column did increase by about 800,000. We did receive our fourth quarter interest in December. Yuba County, we did not receive our cash reports until December, so we're reconciling those from July, and that attributes the increase for the other local revenue. Change in expenditures are really slight. They're under $500,000 total for both unrestricted and restricted combined. Those are mostly due to aligning the budget. We really go through and we're looking at our positions, cleaning up, looking at vacancies. And then we did have an increase of about 1.3 million in our other outgo, and that's really associated with our SPED expenditures from the county programs. So this is a look at our general fund revenue. This is total unrestricted and restricted. You can see it in a pie chart. As you can see, most of our revenue comes from our LCFF, our local control funding formula. We do have some other state revenue and our grants, federal grants and other local. Our general expenditures are about 248 million. Most of that is our salary and benefits. We do have about 16 million in capital outlay. And we also have some other outgo, which is, as I said earlier, SPED expenditures to the county programs, and then also our capital outlay. We're using a lot of our restricted funds, extended learning opportunities to put in some portables for our after-school programs. This is take a look at our ending fund balance. As you can see, combined, we are projecting about 64 million for both unrestricted and restricted combined. We're looking at about a $29.5 million deficit spending. If you look at the restricted column of 27.4, most of that is those one-time dollars that we finished up with ESSER. Also, we have some grants that are over multiple years, and so that's a lot of that planned carryover. Our components of our fund balance are made up with our revolving cash, our ending inventory. We have about 24 million in our restricted. Our assignments equal about 33 million, and our economic uncertainty reserve of 3%, which is mandated by the state, is about 6.5 million. In the assigned, we have some designations. We have one-time discretionary for facilities, 2.3 million. We have a teacher residency grant, our SPED early intervention preschool grant, supplemental concentration dollars, our liability for vacation. We have some site discretionary. And also we have assigned for the salary negotiations that you've been approving for the 23, 24, and 24, 25 salary increases. Now we're going to take a look at our multi-year projections. This page is just a snapshot out of the executive summary, that big fat book that came with your agenda item. It's page 14. There's a lot of numbers on there, tiny writing. I'm going to summarize this. It's a little bit bigger and combine our numbers. So when we create our multi-year, when we're projecting out, there's planning factors that we use. We look at the COLA that has been presented for this current year and the 2 out years. We look at our enrollment. We are projecting we're a growing district, that our enrollment will increase. And then we also look at that average daily attendance. We use about a 93% attendance rate to come up with these numbers. We've been improving over the years. We did keep it constant at 93, but I know that we are really doing a great job at trying to get our attendance up. We look at our unduplicated pupil count. That accounts for our supplemental and concentration dollars. And then we have to take into consideration our employer costs for STRS and PERS, unemployment rate, and then we look at the consumer price index on our goods and services. So this is a combined unrestricted and restricted look at our multi-year. We're showing, you just saw the 24-25 with the $29.5 million deficit, leaving us with a $64 million balance. And then in the out years, you can see we're really slightly deficit spending in the out year of 0.6 million, and then a surplus in 26-27. Now, along with those planning factors that you saw on slide 16, we took into account for the next 2 years the reduction of FTE that was approved at the last board meeting with about a $3 million savings. We also are looking, since we're at a growing district and we have the TK, is coming up with a 1-to-10 ratio, adding to our certificated staff. We also looked at, last year when we went into 24-25, we knew we were deficit spending, so we decreased all of our department budgets by 10%, and we decreased our contribution to facilities by $1 million. We also looked at the superintendent budget for 25-26, and we cut out some services there, about $200,000 savings. So this is a look at our unrestricted multi-year projections with the impact of the salary increases that we're just going through right now with approving by the board. You can see about the fourth, 4 lines down, you can see those salary increase impact and the out years, this current year and then the out year. So you can see that in 25-26, we are deficit spending again, and in 26-27, $2.8 million. So as we're getting ready to build the budget for next year, we're gonna continue to go through all of our restricted accounts, look at ways that we can save, and continue to comb through our budget. Also, in January, Governor Newsom came out with his budget proposal for 25-26. It was pretty positive. It was balanced and kept significant reserves there with little cuts to education. He's planning on funding COLA fully. There are some uncertainties with the financial impact of wildfires down in Southern California, absenteeism due to immigration concerns, and potential federal policy and funding changes that we need to be aware of. He's also funding a student support and professional development discretionary block grant, learning recovery emergency block grant that we do have in place. He's talking about putting the funding in that he reduced, I think it was back in 23. The transitional kindergarten, as I said earlier, will be a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 students to 1 adult. And he's proposing to increase that TK add-on rate by $3,252. We do not have that in our budget projected because we're gonna wait and see if that really does come to fruition in May. He's also proposing some career technical education. He's going to fund our programs at 2.43 COLA. He's putting more money into our child nutrition with some one-time dollars for equipment and preparing fresh meals and farm-to-school grant programs. He's looking at expanding our learning opportunities program with more money, and then recruitment and retention of teachers and literacy instruction screening. So as I said earlier, we're gonna continue to plan on our LCAP and budget for 25-26 and evaluate our restricted funds, our position control, and look at where we can cut expenditures. The next thing coming up for the timeline is the budget and LCAP I've mentioned a few times. We'll bring that to you in June for approval, and the state will continue to work on their budget. That dictates our local budget. Like I said, in May, we'll have the May revise. Final budget will be in June for the state, and then in July, it should be enacted. I want to thank the board and everybody, and especially the accounting department. Cindy Holmes is out here in the audience for all her hard work, and her staff. They do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
Jennifer.
questions or?
I think we got a question from Dr. Gang.
Perfect.
I have one question. It relates to page 9. If you flip it out to
Sure.
page 9.
Is there a quicker way?
And my apologies, Jennifer. Yeah, I didn't catch this on the last report, the December report, but I was looking at page 9 and looking at the $18.3 million spent in books and supplies.
Yeah.
And if I compare that number to the report that was done in December, 13 and some change comes from restricted, and 5 came from unrestricted. And so, but on the unrestricted, the change year over year didn't change much. It was within the restricted. And so when I'm looking at the restricted, it went from a 6.4, which was what was budgeted, and then it changed to 13.5. And that wasn't caught on the December, I didn't catch that in the December presentation. So I'm just curious what happened. And I know it's in the restricted side of the budget. So, and the reason why I'm asking this question is it goes back to Amy's presentation about books and books going up. And I just want to, and I asked the question about, okay, why is our books cost so expensive? Is the state funding it? And what's the impact to our budget? And so I'm just curious, what explains that increase from 6.4 to 13.5? And if you want to know what I'm looking at, I have it up. This is the December presentation.
Okay.
And so it notes that the first interim, it didn't increase by that $7 million. So I'm just curious what happened there.
And that's in the restricted that you're asking about?
Yeah, it's in the restricted. The unrestricted is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So many times I could dig in and find out the details for you, but in the first interim from adopted budget, we have all of our carryover from the grants, such as the learning block, learning recovery emergency block grant, our title dollars, restricted routine maintenance is in there, or SPED. And so if we have carryover, most of the time it gets booked to the books and supply account, and then it's kind of moved around based on the grant or based on the budgets and the grants that are specific to that grant. So it's really the carryover that changes that, why you see such a difference from adopted budget to first interim.
So it's not specifically applying to books then?
Correct. Books and supplies also includes small equipment. It's not just books, it's our materials and supplies, paper. Of course, off the top of my head, I can't think of technologies in there. We refer it to the 4,000s, which is mostly it's books, but it's also supplies, color crayons, warehouse, all that. Kind of.
But what explains the carryover of $6 million though? That's a lot of carryover comparatively in terms of in that category. That's really my concern.
It's kind of the holding place that we put it in if we're not certain how it's going to be spent, and then we will move it around based on the needs of that grant. I can dive in and give you detail of that $7 million difference.
Okay.
But yeah, it just sometimes you'll see when we come back and audited actuals, and then it drops down because it wasn't spent or it's carried over to the next year.
Oh, so potentially that extra money might get pushed into the next year?
It could, yes, depending on the grant. If it's a multi-year grant, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, is this available to the public on the website?
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
attached
I wanted to say I love the new format. It's nice. By the way, this is my favorite page, page 3.
Oh, the budget cycle.
Yes, it tells you where we're at. And I like this format from this lens because it tells us where we've been and where we are now and where we're going.
Where we're going, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you like it because it's in every presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We have public comment from Miss Angela Steele.
Jolie loves the budget.
So Angela Stiegel with Muta again. And so Jen, I had a few questions, and I don't know if it's easier if like I have the slide in front of me or what, but on the slide about the additional planning factors and the reduction of FTE and the $3 million savings, so that $3 million, that is part of, in fact, the $3.7 million the board voted on, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I thought that's what that meant in the line above. So then if we take that plus the increases that are below that, and then these reductions here, does this slide total up to the 3.7 million? Is this basically like the list for that?
Yes.
Okay, so then the decrease in the department budgets, is that where like the adult ed, is that included in that, or is that gonna show up somewhere
No,
else?
that already showed up in 24-25. We already did that going forward. So let me take back what I said. It's not.
Okay.
The 3.7 isn't entirely this.
Okay.
The 24-25, I just wanted to point out, we're anticipating, we know we're deficit spending.
Right.
So coming into 24-25, we already made those
Okay.
decreases to the budget.
So then the like couple of program changes like the adult ed and then the middle college, those are gonna be separate from this?
Yes, they're not listed on here.
Okay.
But yes, and
Got it.
and as we were building the multi-year projection, we didn't get into that quite detail, but we will as we're building it for 25-26. This was just kind of a,
Gotcha. And then the other question I had, in the slide about the governor's budget proposal for 25-26, where that 2.43 COLA for programs, do we know yet if in addition to programs, if the district is going to be budgeting that COLA for employees as well? Because I know we just went through the whole thing about COLA and programs versus people and.
so the 2.43 for programs, it really increases the allocation by 2.43 that we receive. So depending on the program, how it'll be allocated is up to the program administrator or what the budget, I mean, it all goes towards that revenue we're expected to receive, and then I guess it goes into the budget planning.
Okay.
In a roundabout way, yes, it does go to people. Yeah.
Okay. So then the last thing I had is actually just a comment, and actually Jen already kind of knows about this because I actually texted her from a conference about it. On the uncertainties, one of the things that it mentions is the potential federal policy changes. And so I don't want to go way off in a political end of things, but we all know that there's conversation about eliminating the U.S. Department of Education. And one of the things that's already been eliminated is the rural schools funding, which it actually has a huge long name, and it deals with being a national forest land. So Marysville Joint Unified is going to lose, I guess some people would call it a drop in the bucket. It's actually, I think, what was it, 15, 16,000, somewhere in that ballpark, which, I mean, every dollar counts at this point in time, but also to bring awareness to the fact that we have other communities that are going to suffer much worse. Siskiyou County, it's going to wipe out about 90% of their school district's budget. But also within that, just to kind of bring awareness to everybody, if we do eliminate that, a lot of people are talking about it, impacting special ed. And I have heard people say, well, it's only going to impact special ed. It will not. I have been in a number of meetings and webinars here in the last week of my life, including one yesterday. You're talking about things like our homeless and foster youth programs. You're talking about things like CTE training, ELD, let's see, meals, which, it's really nice in our community with the socioeconomic situation that we have going on that our students can actually eat at school, and that's one of the things that could very well be on the chopping block. And so just, like I said, just a comment, awareness factor. I appreciated the fact that you did include the potential federal policy changes that could really impact us. The one we already know of is small, but the others are going to be quite significant and could really do some damage to us and our students in our community. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you, Cindy, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Jennifer, great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, this is an action item?
This is an action item here. It is recommended that the board approve the 24-25 second interim financial report for the period ending 1/31/25 and approve the required budget revisions. And it sounds like I have a motion from Mr. Crawford. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. And do I have a second for approval? Mr. Fuhrer. For coming tonight, and our next regular meeting schedule is March 25th, 2025. This meeting is now adjourned.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Yuba-Sutter home garden and lifestyle expo. Friday to Sunday to the place to grow. Let's discover ways to make our lives shine bright. Join us for a weekend filled with pure delight.
Get spiced, pampered, explore, munch, and see more than 100 vendors that bring
variety. Get details at yshome.show. Together we'll create. Let this passion flow.
You've seen signs marking some of the gyms in Marysville. They're produced by Sapphire Sign Company, providing something small, large, and mobile. With decades of experience, Sapphire Signs has pioneered local production of a variety of signs, like temporary campaign-style signs, welcomes for unique events, building signage, event promotion, and vehicle customization. Need a sign? Make it a gem from Sapphire Sign Company. On the web at sapphiremarketinggroup.net. Sapphire.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow, with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.
Yuba-Sutter.live. It's the truth that comes through.